I found the drawing beneath the quarterly acquisition report, half hidden under a silver paperweight shaped like a wolf. At first I thought one of the interns had left a joke on my desk. No one else in Lenox Tower used crayons. No one else dared put anything personal in my office without asking. The paper was cheap, folded twice, and smudged at the corner by small, impatient fingers. Purple clouds floated above a black glass building. Beside it stood 3 stick figures, a woman in a charcoal suit, a smaller woman with honey-colored hair, and a child between them holding both their hands. The suited woman had angry eyebrows and red shoes. The smaller woman wore a yellow dress. The child had a crown made of uneven stars. Under the suited woman, in wobbly letters, someone had written one word. Mama. For one ridiculous second, the entire city went silent beyond my windows. I was 32, alpha-born, head of a company people said I ruled like winter. I had negotiated mergers while bleeding through suppressants, dismissed men twice my age with one look, and buried every soft part of myself so deep even I forgot where I had put it. I did not have children. I did not have lovers. I did not have drawings signed Mama. But the paper carried a scent. Not just wax and dust and strawberry soap. Beneath that was omega sweetness, warm as milk tea, threaded with rain, jasmine, and fear. My wolf lifted her head inside me before my mind formed the name. Sarah Murrin. My new executive assistant. She had been with me for 6 weeks, quiet as snowfall, efficient enough to frighten my senior managers, always in pale blouses buttoned to her throat. She never met my eyes for longer than 3 seconds. She never lingered near me when my rut suppressants wore thin. She wore scent blockers that should have made her invisible. They had never worked on me. I touched the word Mama with one finger. The last time an Omega had looked at me with Sarah's eyes, I was 26 and stupid with loneliness. There had been a rainstorm, a charity gala, one locked library, and a girl in a yellow dress who trembled when I offered her my jacket. By morning she was gone. By noon my mother told me she had taken settlement money and signed an agreement never to contact me again. I had believed it because believing rage was easier than believing abandonment hurt. A knock sounded. I slid the drawing under my palm. Come in. Sarah stepped inside carrying my 11 o'clock files against her chest. Her hair was twisted into a severe knot, but one strand had escaped and clung to her cheek. The sight of it irritated me for no rational reason. I wanted to tuck it back. I wanted to order the whole world to stop frightening her. Ms. Lennox, she said, voice soft. The sole call moved to noon. Legal needs your signature before then. I watched her place the folder down. Watched her gaze flick to my hand. Watched every drop of color drain from her face. There it was. Fear, sharp and immediate. Sarah, I said. Are you missing something? Her fingers tightened around the folder. No. I mean, I don't think so. She tried to smile. It broke before it reached her eyes. Was there something on your desk? I lifted my hand. The drawing lay between us like a small, impossible heartbeat. Sarah stopped breathing. I had seen executives lie, politicians lie, rivals lie with champagne smiles. Sarah did not lie like them. Her whole body pleaded before her mouth opened. That belongs to my niece, she whispered. Your niece calls me Mama. The question landed harder than I intended. She flinched. My wolf snarled at me for it. She draws stories, Sarah said quickly. She copies words. She must have seen something on television. My name is not on television with the word Mama under it. It was a mistake. Then why are you shaking? She pressed her lips together, and for a moment I saw the girl from the library again, soaked with rain, looking at me as if I were both shelter and disaster. Before she could answer, my office phone rang. The reception line, blinking red. I answered without looking away from her. Lennox. Ms. Lennox, Mara from reception said. Panic thinly disguised. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a little girl downstairs. Security found her near the private elevators. She says she came to return a picture to her mama. Sarah made a sound so small I almost missed it. My grip tightened on the receiver. Keep her there. Do not let anyone touch her. I'm coming down. Ms. Lennox, she's crying for someone named Sarah. I hung up. For the first time in 6 weeks, Sarah looked directly at me. Her eyes were grey, not brown as I had told myself. Grey like a storm reflected in glass. Grey like the morning after a night I had spent pretending one kiss had not changed the shape of my life. Please, she said. Let me explain before you decide what to do. What to do about what? My voice came out low. About a child calling me Mama, or about you hiding her from me? Sarah's hand went to her throat. No ring. No mark visible. Just the pulse jumping beneath skin I remembered too well. The elevator doors opened before she could speak. A little girl stood between 2 security guards, cheeks wet, yellow backpack slipping from one shoulder. She had Sarah's honey hair and my black eyes. A tiny silver bracelet circled her wrist, engraved with a date I knew better than my own birthday, exactly 5 years after the storm that stole Sarah from me all over again. She looked straight at me. Then she held out both arms and sobbed, Mama. For 3 full seconds, I forgot how to move. The child was crying in front of my private elevator, arms stretched toward me as if her body had already decided what mine had not. Security stood behind her with the helpless terror of grown men who could face protesters, stalkers, and drunk shareholders, but not a 5-year-old with wet cheeks. Sarah moved first. Nia, she breathed, and the name struck me harder than the word Mama. Baby, come here. The little girl did not run to her. She looked at Sarah, then back at me, lower lip trembling. I lost the picture. You are safe. Sarah crouched, opening her arms. Come to Mommy. Mommy. My office tilted around that word. Nia took one step toward Sarah, then stopped and clutched the strap of her yellow backpack. Her gaze stayed fixed on me with a frightening, impossible trust. Children were supposed to fear alphas when our control cracked. Adults did. My own board members did. But this child looked at me like she had been waiting her whole small life for me to bend down. So I did. The movement shocked Sarah enough that she froze. I lowered myself until my expensive trousers touched the marble floor and the guards stared at the top of my head as if the building had changed ownership. Hello, Nia, I said, forcing my voice below the growl gathering in my chest. I found your drawing. Her sob caught. You did? Yes. Did you like it? My throat closed. I had approved $100 million projects with less care than I used to answer her. Very much. Her wet lashes lifted. You have red shoes in the story. In the story? She nodded solemnly. Mama Sarah said you wore red shoes when she met you because you wanted everybody to think you were mean, but actually you were sad. Sarah made a broken sound. I looked at her then. Really looked. Not at the assistant who anticipated my coffee, blocked useless calls, and disappeared before anyone noticed how tired she was. At the Omega who had kept a memory of my red shoes alive in a child's bedtime story. Clear the floor, I told security. Both guards straightened. No staff passed the north corridor. No visitor log copies. No gossip. If I hear one whisper about a child in my office, I will know exactly where it began. They vanished with impressive speed. Sarah stood slowly, one hand pressed over her stomach, though she was not pregnant now. The gesture looked old, remembered. Protective. My wolf saw it and went dangerously still. Nia, Sarah said, voice trembling with discipline, you scared me. You cannot leave the daycare room alone. I wanted to give Mama her picture, Nia whispered. I should have corrected her. I should have stood, restored distance, ordered facts from Sarah like testimony. Instead I held out the folded paper. Nia came to me. Her small fingers brushed mine when she took the drawing. The contact was nothing. A child's hand, warm and sticky from tears. Yet my entire body recognized her. Not emotionally. Not metaphorically. Biologically, brutally, in the marrow. Her scent slipped through the strawberry soap and building air. Sarah's jasmine, yes, but beneath it, my winter cedar, my alpha line, softened into something innocent. My daughter. The thought did not arrive gently. It slammed through me. Nia leaned closer and whispered, Are you mad? The question broke whatever anger had been trying to become useful. No, I shook my head once. Not at you. Mommy said maybe you would be. Sarah's face crumpled. I stood with care because if I moved too quickly, the alpha in me would reach for answers with claws. Inside, I said. Sarah looked toward the elevator. Ms. Lennox, please, not here. Exactly. Inside. I led them into my office and closed the glass doors. The city glittered beyond the windows, indifferent and far away. Nia immediately spotted the leather couch and climbed onto it with the exhausted entitlement of a child who had cried herself empty. Her feet did not reach the floor. I poured water into a crystal glass, realized it was absurd, found a paper cup from the conference cabinet, and handed it to her. Thank you, she said, hiccuping. You're welcome. Sarah remained standing near the door, as if she expected me to call police, lawyers, my mother, or all three. I wanted to call the past and put it on trial. How old is she? I asked. Sarah closed her eyes. 4. Nia frowned around the cup. Almost 5. Almost 5. The engraved bracelet. The charity gala. The storm. The settlement my mother had claimed Sarah accepted. The silence afterward that had turned me cruel because cruelty was easier than grief. I looked at Sarah. Is she mine? Her mouth opened. No sound came out. Nia swung her legs, unaware she had become the center of a world cracking open. Mommy says I have your eyes. Sarah covered her face. I felt my hands curl, then forced them flat against my sides. Sarah. She lowered her hands. Tears had gathered but not fallen. Even now, she tried to be brave in the way abandoned Omegas learn to be brave, quietly, so nobody can punish them for needing anything. Yes, she whispered. She is yours. The office disappeared. Every accusation I had polished for years turned to ash. I remembered the way my mother had touched my shoulder that morning, gentle as poison, saying some Omegas knew how to turn one night into a fortune. I remembered signing nothing, asking nothing, because pride had wrapped both hands around my throat. I remembered hating Sarah so I would not have to admit I had waited by the phone for months. Now the child on my couch breathed with my blood in her tiny chest. Then she added, so softly I almost missed it, and I never took your mother's money. For a long moment, none of us spoke. Nia finished her water, placed the paper cup carefully on my glass coffee table, and began smoothing the corners of her drawing against her knee. The child had no idea that the two adults in the room were standing on opposite sides of a wound older than she was. I did not trust myself to look away from Sarah. What happened? I asked. She swallowed. After the gala. After you disappeared. The word came out sharper than I meant. Nia glanced up. I softened my hands before she could see them shaking. Sarah noticed anyway. She always had. Even in the library, while thunder shook the windows, she had looked at my clenched fists and asked if I was cold instead of afraid. Your mother came to my apartment the next morning, she said. With 2 lawyers and a driver. She knew my lease, my scholarship debt, my sister's hospital bills. She knew everything. My blood cooled. What did she want? She said I had taken advantage of you during a vulnerable rut cycle. She said if I contacted you, she would file charges, destroy my sister's treatment funding, and make sure no company in the city ever hired an Omega who trapped alphas for money. I heard my mother's voice in every word. Elegant. Calm. Devastating. Sarah looked down at Nia. I was 23. I had no family with power. No lawyer. No proof you cared after one night. I gave you my number. She took my phone. The sentence cut clean through 6 years of hatred. She gave me an envelope, Sarah continued. Money, an agreement, and a train ticket. I left the envelope in her car. I took the train ticket because I was scared enough to run. I wanted to break something. The desk. The windows. The version of myself who had believed my mother because it hurt less than searching. And when you found out you were pregnant. Sarah's hand tightened around her sleeve. I went back. My head lifted. I went to Lennox's house 3 times. Your mother's staff said you were abroad. Once I saw your car in the courtyard. They would not let me past the gate. Her voice thinned. The last time, Mrs. Lennox came out herself. I told her. I begged her to tell you. She said if I loved my child, I would keep her away from an alpha family that would take her and leave me with nothing. Nia had stopped smoothing the paper. Mommy, she whispered. Sarah immediately crossed to the couch and knelt. It's all right, Star. Grown-up talk. Nia leaned against her shoulder, still watching me. Is Mama sad? The question undid me more efficiently than any accusation. I crouched in front of them, close enough to sense Sarah's fear spike, not close enough to trap her. Mama is angry, I said carefully. But not at you. Not at Mommy. Nia considered this. At the bad grandma. Sarah choked. For the first time that day, something almost like a laugh escaped me. It sounded rusty and dangerous, but Nia smiled as if she had earned a medal. We will discuss names later, I said. My phone vibrated on the desk. Mother, the screen announced. Of course. I let it ring. Sarah saw the name and went pale again. The sight made my decision for me, quick and absolute. You are not running today, I said. Her eyes flashed. You do not get to order me after 5 minutes of knowing the truth. No, I agreed. But I can order this building locked down, my legal team silent, and my mother kept out of my office. She will not stay out. She will if she values her company shares. Sarah stared at me, suspicion warring with exhaustion. You believe me? The question was so small. I deserved it. I should have believed in you before there was proof on my couch. Her breath caught. Nia looked between us. I'm proof. You are many things, I told her. Proof is the least important. She beamed, then ruined me by asking, can I have crackers? I had 3 billion in assets and no crackers. That failure felt unforgivable. I pressed the intercom. Mara, send up crackers, fruit, juice, and anything else children eat. A pause. Children, One child. Confidentially. Yes, Immediately. Sarah closed her eyes, as if kindness was harder to endure than anger. Ariel. My name in her mouth stopped the room. She had called me Ms. Lennox for 6 weeks. The sound of Ariel dragged the library back around us. Rain, candlelight, her fingers touching my cheek as if I were not a monster. Before either of us could survive that memory, the private elevator chimed. I had not authorized it. The doors opened. Her perfume reached me first, expensive roses over steel. It had scented every childhood lesson about control, every dinner where my feelings were corrected like bad posture. Once, that scent had meant home. Now it covered the trail of a frightened Omega, a stolen phone, a discarded envelope, and 4 years of bedtime stories told without me. Sarah's fingers closed around Nia's shoulder. Nia's small hand clutched the yellow fabric of her mother's skirt. Something old and obedient in me died right there, without asking permission. My mother stepped out in white silk, silver hair perfect, expression mild. Behind her stood my head of security looking like a man already composing his resignation. Darling, Evelyn Lennox said, eyes moving from me, to Sarah, to the child on my couch. I came as soon as I heard there was a disturbance. Nia slid off the couch and hid behind Sarah's skirt. My wolf rose so fast the room seemed to darken. I stepped between them and my mother. No, I said. Evelyn's smile did not move. No. You do not look at my daughter until I decide you have earned the right. My mother's eyes sharpened once, then smoothed into marble. Daughter, she repeated, as if the word were a stain on my carpet. Ariel, perhaps we should discuss this privately. We are discussing it privately. You, me, Sarah, and the child you kept from me. Evelyn glanced at Sarah with the distant disgust she reserved for bad investments. I kept no one from you. I protected you from a girl who arrived at our gate with a convenient pregnancy and no evidence. Sarah's scent collapsed inward. I felt Nia flinch behind me. You will not speak about her like that. Like what? Honestly. My mother removed her gloves finger by finger. You were grieving your father, unstable from suppressants, and one pretty Omega found you alone. Forgive me if I did not allow a stranger to weaponize your loneliness." The room went very quiet. For years, she had trained me to hear concern inside cruelty. Today, with my daughter hiding behind an Omega she had terrorized, the trick stopped working. "You stole Sarah's phone. I confiscated a tool being used to harass this family. You threatened her sister's medical care. I reminded her that actions have consequences. You knew about Nia." Evelyn's jaw tightened. That was answer enough. Sarah made a soft, wounded sound, but she did not step back. She moved 1 inch closer to Nia instead, and that tiny bravery nearly brought me to my knees. My phone buzzed again. Mother's assistant. Then legal. Then board chair. She had already started moving pieces. I smiled. Evelyn noticed and finally looked uncertain. "You taught me every emergency protocol Lennox Holdings has," I said. "You taught me which shareholders panic, which directors fold, which lawyers leak, which guards obey title over blood." "Ariel." "You forgot I listened." I picked up my desk phone and dialed internal security. "This is Ariel Lennox. Evelyn Lennox is no longer cleared for executive floors without my written approval. Deactivate her private elevator access. If she refuses to leave, escort her out through the public lobby." My mother's face whitened with rage so controlled it looked like elegance. "You would humiliate me in front of staff. You humiliated a pregnant Omega at my gate. She is not your mate." The word struck too close to the hollow place under my ribs. Sarah looked away. "No, we were not bonded. No, I had no claim to the years she had survived without me. But Nia's small fingers were gripping the back of my jacket now, trusting the shape of me without permission, and some claims were not made by Marks. "She is the mother of my child," I said. "That is enough." Evelyn's gaze dropped to Nia at last. I moved before she could take one step. The growl that left me was not corporate, not civilized, not anything I had ever allowed in this office. It rolled through the glass walls and made the lights seem colder. Nia gasped. Sarah whispered, "Ariel." The sound of my name steadied me. I pulled the alpha back by force, breath by breath, until I could speak instead of snarl. "Leave," I told my mother. Evelyn looked past me. "Sarah, you have no idea what you are awakening. If you think my daughter's guilt will protect you, you are mistaken. She grows bored of softness quickly." Sarah lifted her chin. Her hands trembled, but her voice did not. "I know exactly how long her softness lasts. I have been raising it for almost 5 years." Nia peeked around my jacket. "Mommy, is that the bad grandma?" My mother recoiled as if bitten. I should not have enjoyed it. I did. Security arrived at the open elevator. 2 senior guards this time. They looked at me, not Evelyn. Power shifted in the room with an audible click. "This is not finished," my mother said. "No," I agreed. "It is beginning." She left without another word, but the scent of roses remained long after the doors closed. Only then did Nia start crying again. Not loudly. That would have been easier. She cried silently, face crumpling, little shoulders shaking beneath her yellow backpack. The alpha in me panicked so completely I forgot every command language I knew. Sarah dropped to her knees. "Star, I'm here." "I made trouble," Nia whispered. "No," Sarah pulled her close. "Never." I knelt too, slower this time. "Nia, look at me." She did, eyes shining like dark mirrors. "You brought me a drawing," I said. "That is not trouble. That is a gift." Her breathing hitched. But bad grandma got mad. Bad grandma makes many poor choices. Sarah gave me a look over Nia's head, half warning, half disbelief. I ignored it. "None of them are your fault." Nia studied me with devastating seriousness. "Are you really my mama?" The question deserved certainty I had not earned and honesty she could survive. "I think so," I said. "But more importantly, I would like to be, if you and Mommy allow it." Sarah closed her eyes. Nia nodded once, as if approving a merger. "You can start with crackers." The elevator chimed again, blessedly carrying Mara with a tray piled like she had robbed a school cafeteria. Crackers, apple slices, juice boxes, cookies, even a tiny stuffed wolf from the gift shop downstairs. Nia accepted the wolf with both hands. Sarah rose unsteadily. We should go. Panic cut through me. No. Her expression hardened. I corrected myself. Please. Not yet. She looked toward the windows, toward escape. Ariel, your mother will come for us. Then stay where I can stand between you. We have survived without you. I know. The words tasted like blood. I'm asking for the chance to make sure you never have to again. Sarah's eyes filled. Then Nia tugged her sleeve and whispered, Mommy, tell her about the doctor. The room changed again, not with anger this time, but with the cold, precise terror that comes when a child says doctor too softly. The doctor was not a metaphor. I looked from Nia's worried face to Sarah's suddenly closed one, and every protective instinct in me forgot my mother, the board, and the acquisition waiting unsigned on my desk. What doctor? Sarah smoothed Nia's hair. Nothing urgent. Mommy, Nia objected. Sarah's smile trembled. Star. I crouched until Nia did not have to look up at me. Did something hurt? My nose bleeded at school, she said, touching the bridge of it. And I got sleepy on the floor. Mommy cried in the nurseroom, but quiet crying, so I wasn't supposed to know. Sarah pressed a hand over her mouth. The floor seemed to drop. When? Last Friday, Sarah whispered. She fainted. The pediatrician said her presentation markers are early and unstable. It happens sometimes with children from strong alpha bloodlines, especially if the other parent's history is missing. Missing. The word hit exactly where it should. The doctor asked for your family medical records, Sarah continued. I tried requesting them through public channels. Everything was sealed. Then the bills came, and Nia had another episode, and I saw the assistant position posted. Understanding arrived slowly, painfully. You came here for records. I came here for my daughter. I deserved the correction. Nia hugged the stuffed wolf to her chest. Mommy said we were being brave spies. A helpless laugh tore out of Sarah, half sob. Very bad spies. You became my assistant, I said, because you needed access to my medical files. Yes. She met my eyes through tears. And because some foolish part of me wanted to know if you had truly become as cold as everyone said. I had no defense. I had made myself cold enough that rumor barely had to exaggerate. I picked up the phone. Mara, cancel my day. Sarah stiffened. Ariel, no. Yes. You cannot fix this by taking over. I am not taking over. I am showing up. Her expression changed at that, pain flickering like a match behind glass. Within 12 minutes, my driver had brought the car to the private garage. My legal counsel had released my medical records to Dr. Dahlia Chen at Westbridge Children's Clinic, and 3 board members had received the same message. Family emergency, do not call unless the building burns. Sarah buckled Nia into the back seat with practiced hands. I stood uselessly beside the door, holding the yellow backpack like a bodyguard assigned to royalty. Nia looked up at me. Do you know car songs? No. She considered this grave failing. Mommy knows 7. I can learn. Sarah's fingers paused on the seat belt. So for the first time in my adult life, I sat in the back of my own car while a 4-year-old taught me a song about a moon rabbit who lost her shoes. I was terrible. Nia laughed so hard she forgot to be afraid. Sarah watched us reflected in the window, one hand curled near her mouth, eyes wet but softer than before. At the clinic, Dr. Chen greeted Sarah by name, then looked at me with recognition she was too professional to show fully. You must be the second parent, she said. The words entered me quietly and stayed. If Nia allows it, I answered. Nia raised her hand. I allow crackers and songs first. Dr. Chen smiled. Excellent medical priorities. The examination was gentle. Height, weight, reflexes. A small blood draw that made Nia bury her face in Sarah's neck while gripping two of my fingers with surprising force. I did not breathe until she stopped crying. When Dr. Chen finally led us into her office, Sarah sat on the edge of the chair as if waiting for punishment. I hated every chair that had ever made her feel that way. The good news, Dr. Chen said, is that Nia is not in immediate danger. Her episodes appear linked to early scent gland sensitivity and an unusually dominant alpha inheritance pattern. Sarah exhaled shakily. I did not. Treatment. Routine monitoring, environmental adjustments, and a stabilizing scent protocol from both biological parents. Sarah's gaze snapped to mine. Dr. Chen continued, not bonding, not anything inappropriate. For a child, it means safe contact with parental scent markers. Clothes, blankets, presents during stress. Her body has been searching for information it did not have. I looked at Nia through the interior window. She was in the playroom, making the stuffed wolf attack wooden vegetables. Her body had been searching for me. For years of nosebleeds, nightmares, fear, and I had been 3 miles away behind glass doors and pride. What do you need from me? I asked. Dr. Chen's face softened. Consistency. Medical access. No sudden disappearances. Children with this profile do poorly when an alpha parent appears and vanishes. Sarah's breath hitched. I turned to her, not the doctor. I will not vanish. You cannot promise that in one afternoon. No, I said. But I can begin proving it before evening. My phone rang then, vibrating across the doctor's desk where I had placed it. Unknown number. I ignored it. Sarah's phone rang next. She looked at the screen and went white. What? I asked. She turned it toward me. A message filled the display. Leave my granddaughter out of your little revenge play, Miss Murrin, or Westbridge will discover exactly who forged the insurance forms. Below it was my mother's number. For 1 second, Sarah looked 23 again, alone at a gate with no weapon except a child she had not yet met. Then she folded the phone against her chest as if hiding the threat could make it smaller. It did the opposite. Every old fear in her scent rushed out, sharp enough to sting my tongue. Nia laughed in the playroom, unaware her grandmother had reached through another wall. I stood slowly, and this time the cold inside me was not emptiness. It was purpose. My mother wanted war quietly. I decided she would get it publicly. I did not take Sarah's phone. 6 years ago, my mother had stolen her voice with lawyers, threats, and locked gates. I would not repeat the crime by snatching the evidence from her hand, no matter how violently my instincts demanded control. May I? I asked. Sarah stared at me as if permission was a language she had forgotten. Then she nodded. I photographed the message, forwarded it to my counsel, and returned the phone immediately. My fingers brushed hers. She was cold. Dr. Chen pretended to study Nia's chart, giving us privacy with the kindness of a woman who understood fear professionally. Did you forge anything? I asked quietly. Sarah's mouth tightened. I signed one form saying Nia's second parent was unavailable, not unknown. The clinic needed a category for hereditary testing. I could not write your name without proof, and I could not leave it blank without delaying treatment. That is not forgery. Your mother can make anything sound criminal. Yes, I said. But sounding criminal and being criminal are different things. She taught me that too. My counsel called within 4 minutes. Emergency injunction, I told Lena before she finished greeting me. Harassment, medical interference, attempted intimidation of a child's guardian. Preserve all Lennox House visitor logs from 5 years ago. Subpoena private security recordings if they still exist. Quietly. Sarah grabbed my sleeve. Ariel. I looked at her hand before I looked at her face. She released me quickly, embarrassed, but the warmth stayed. Not publicly unless you choose it, I said. Her eyes searched mine. You can fight her quietly. I can fight her politely, legally, financially, and, if necessary, in a language that makes billionaires sweat through silk. Something fragile almost smiled in her. Then Nia burst from the playroom holding the stuffed wolf upside down. Doctor says I need Mama smell blankets, she announced. Dr. Chen coughed. That is one interpretation. Sarah blushed so hard I nearly forgot we were at war. The first practical problem was ridiculous. Nia needed scent items, and I owned nothing soft enough for a child except cashmere throws selected by decorators who believed comfort should look intimidating. The second problem was larger. Sarah's apartment was across town, and my mother knew the address. We can go home, Sarah insisted in the clinic parking garage. We have locks. Your locks are designed for ordinary threats. My life is ordinary when your family leaves it alone. The words landed. I accepted them because they were true. Nia, half asleep against Sarah's hip, mumbled, "Can the wolf come?" "The wolf can come anywhere," I said. Sarah sighed. "Do not bribe my daughter with wolves." "I was bribing the wolf with your daughter." She looked away, but not before I saw it, the smallest unwilling curve of her mouth. We went to her apartment because she asked, and because showing up could not mean overruling her. I sent my security ahead but ordered them to stay invisible. Sarah noticed anyway. "You always did move armies when one umbrella would do," she said. "You remember the umbrella?" Her fingers tightened around her keys. "I remember everything. That was the problem." Her building was old brick, clean but tired, with lavender pots on the stairs and a mailroom light that flickered. It was not unsafe, but it was not protected. The thought of Sarah carrying groceries and a feverish child up 3 flights while I spent years hating her in penthouse silence made my chest ache with something worse than guilt. Inside, the apartment smelled like jasmine tea, crayons, laundry soap, and love stretched thin but never broken. Children's books leaned in uneven towers. A tiny pair of rain boots sat beside Sarah's plain black heels. On the refrigerator, beneath alphabet magnets, were more drawings. Me in red shoes. Me with angry eyebrows. Me holding an umbrella. Me beside Sarah and Nia under a moon-colored purple. I stood in that kitchen and understood that I had not been absent from Nia's life. I had been transformed into a myth. A sad alpha in red shoes who once gave Mommy an umbrella and somehow belonged in every picture. Sarah saw me looking. I should have taken them down when I accepted the job. "No," my voice failed once. "Please do not." Nia woke enough to demand noodles. Sarah moved automatically, filling a pot, checking homework sheets, wiping a counter already clean. I removed my jacket, rolled up my sleeves, and waited for instructions. She stared. "What are you doing?" "Showing up before evening." "You boil water." "I oversee divisions that manufacture medical robotics." That was not my question. Nia giggled from the table. "Mama can't do noodles." "She might learn," Sarah said, and handed me carrots to wash. For 20 minutes, no one threatened us. Steam fogged the small window. Nia colored. Sarah corrected my knife grip twice and then quietly took over before I could endanger anyone. It was the most domestic thing that had ever happened to me, and I wanted it with a ferocity that frightened me. After dinner, my phone lit with Lena's name. I stepped into the hallway. My reflection in the dark stairwell window looked unfamiliar. Sleeves rolled, hair loosened by a child's noodle steam, lipstick gone from drinking juice out of a plastic cup. For years, I had mistaken emptiness for discipline. Now there were carrot peels on my cuffs and crayon wax on my palm, and I felt more dangerous than I ever had in any boardroom. Maybe because this time, at last, I fully knew what I was protecting. "She moved first," Lena said. "Emergency board session tomorrow morning. Agenda says your judgment is compromised by an undisclosed claimant and potential extortion attempt." Through the open door, I saw Nia tape the original drawing to the refrigerator. Sarah stood behind her, one hand hovering near her back like a blessing. My mother wanted to make them shameful. Fine. Tomorrow, I would bring the drawing. I did not sleep. Sarah refused my offer of a hotel, a penthouse, and 3 different safe houses Lena suggested with alarming enthusiasm. "Nia knows her bed," she said, and that ended the matter. So I spent the night in a chair by their apartment door while 2 security teams rotated outside and Sarah pretended not to notice every time she checked the chain lock. At 2 in the morning, Nia padded into the hallway, dragging her stuffed wolf by one paw. Mama. The word still hit like sunlight on frost. Yes. I had the bad grandma dream. Before I could answer, Sarah peered behind her, hair loose, face soft with sleep and worry. For a heartbeat we simply looked at each other over our daughter's head. Two women connected by everything we had lost and the small person who refused to let us stay lost. I held out my suit jacket. It has my scent. Sarah hesitated, then wrapped it around Nia's shoulders. Nia fell asleep on the hallway rug between us within minutes. Sarah sat opposite me, knees drawn to her chest. You should go home. I'm home enough. Her eyes shone in the dark. She said nothing, but she did not ask again. At 8, I dressed in the apartment bathroom, tying my hair back with hands steadier than my heart. Sarah stood in the kitchen making Nia toast shaped like stars. You do not have to come, I told her. She placed the knife down. I am done being discussed in rooms I am not allowed to enter. That was how we arrived at Lennox Tower together. Me in black, Sarah in a pale blue dress, Nia at Westbridge under Dr. Chen's supervision with my jacket, her wolf, and enough crackers to survive a siege. The boardroom fell silent when Sarah walked in beside me. My mother sat at the far end, white silk again, pearl earrings bright as teeth. Around her, 12 directors looked anywhere but at the Omega she had expected to remain invisible. Board Chair Harville cleared his throat. Ariel, this is an emergency governance meeting, not a family mediation. Correct. I placed Nia's drawing in the center of the polished table. So let us discuss governance. Evelyn's nostrils flared. I opened my folder. Last night, a threatening message was sent to Sarah Murrin regarding medical forms for my daughter, Nia Murrin. A murmur moved through the room. My council has copies. Westbridge Children's Clinic has copies. By noon, the court will have copies. Evelyn laughed softly. You are letting sentiment guide you. We have no proof this child is yours. Sarah's chin lifted. I did not look at her because if I did, I might forget the room and reach for her hand. Formal genetic confirmation is underway. Until then, hereditary markers already reviewed by Dr. Chen indicate Lennox alpha lineage. More importantly, Evelyn knew of Nia's existence years ago and used company security resources to prevent contact. That is a lie. Lena entered then, carrying a tablet. She loved timing almost as much as litigation. It is not, she said. Recovered archive logs show 3 visits by Sarah Murrin to Lennox House, 2 marked private refusal by Mrs. Lennox, 1 flagged under corporate threat management. There is also a payment request drafted for Ms. Murrin that was voided because the envelope was returned unopened. The boardroom changed temperature. Harville removed his glasses. Evelyn. My mother's smile finally cracked. I protected this family from scandal. No, Sarah said. Every eye turned to her. Her hands were clasped so tightly her knuckles whitened, but her voice carried. You protected your control. I was alone, pregnant, and terrified. I came to your gate because your daughter deserved to know. You told me rich alphas do not lose children, only inconvenient omegas do. Silence. My wolf pressed against my ribs, proud and grieving. Evelyn stood. You expect us to believe a desperate omega over me. I expect them, I said, rising too, to believe documents, messages, logs, and the fact that you used company resources for personal coercion. Harville looked at Lena. Legal exposure. Severe if ignored. Manageable if the board separates itself immediately. My mother stared at me. You would remove me. You removed yourself when you threatened my child's medical care. She will make you weak. I glanced at the drawing, at the angry eyebrows Nia had given me, the red shoes, the 3 stick figures holding hands. Then I looked at Sarah, who had survived my absence and still taught our daughter a story where I was sad instead of cruel. No, I said. They are the first reason I have had to be strong. The vote was not unanimous. Power never dies cleanly. But it passed. By 10:17, Evelyn Lennox was suspended from the board pending investigation. By 10:20, her elevator access, accounts, and legal authority were frozen. By 10:23, she walked past Sarah without looking at her. At the door, my mother stopped. When she leaves you, do not come crawling back to me. Sarah answered before I could. She already did, she said quietly. To her daughter. Evelyn left. I should have felt victory. Instead, in the emptying boardroom, I looked at Sarah and realized winning against my mother was easy compared to asking an Omega I had failed for permission to stay. She stood beside the table with Nia's drawing between us, shoulders straight, eyes tired, scent trembling with relief she did not trust yet. I wanted to promise apartments, doctors, guards, school tuition, every practical thing money could throw at damage. But Sarah had not needed a savior last night while cutting carrots in her kitchen. She had needed witness, truth, patience. My hands curled around the back of a chair. For once, I did not reach first. I waited, because love that arrived 6 years late had no right to demand immediate welcome, not even from the woman who missed everything. Sarah looked at my waiting hand, then at the drawing. I don't know how to do this, she said. Neither do I. That honesty seemed to matter more than confidence. She exhaled, slow and shaky, and touched the corner of the crayon paper instead of touching me. I cannot move into your world because you feel guilty. I know. I cannot let Nia love you if you are only trying to punish your mother. I know that too. Her eyes lifted. And I cannot go back to being your assistant. For some reason, that hurt almost as much as the rest. Not because I wanted her beneath me, answering phones and arranging meetings, but because those 6 weeks had been the only time I saw her daily and did not understand I was being given a miracle in plain clothes. No, I said. You should never have had to stand outside my door. Sarah's mouth trembled. I was so angry at you. You should be. I told myself I only came for records. Then you would forget lunch and I would leave soup on your desk. You would glare at anyone who raised their voice near me. You remembered how I took tea after one meeting, Ariel. I hated you for making it hard. My throat ached. I hated you because it was easier than missing you. The boardroom lights hummed above us. Beyond the glass wall, executives pretended not to watch the collapse and rebuilding of my life. Sarah finally touched my hand. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But contact. We start with Nia, she said. Yes. Doctor visits. Scent blankets. School pickup once a week, supervised at first because she is small and you are intense. I'm appropriately sized. You threatened a boardroom before breakfast. They deserved it. A laugh escaped her, surprised and wet. I wanted to keep that sound somewhere safe. We start with Nia, she repeated. And maybe, if you keep showing up, we talk about us. Maybe was the most generous word I had ever received. The genetic confirmation arrived 3 days later, unnecessary and still devastating. Probability of parentage, 99.9998%. Nia asked if that meant she was officially allowed to steal my red shoes. Sarah told her no. I bought a smaller red pair anyway and was properly scolded for spoiling her before breakfast. Spoiling, I learned, was different from parenting. Parenting was showing up with soup when Sarah had a migraine. It was learning the Moon Rabbit song until Nia declared my voice less broken. It was sending 1 security car instead of 6 because Sarah said fear should not become Nia's wallpaper. It was sitting in pediatric waiting rooms with my jacket around my daughter's shoulders while she drew wolves on prescription pads. It was also apology without performance. I apologized to Sarah at her kitchen table 1 week after the board vote, while Nia slept in the next room with my cashmere scarf tucked under her cheek. I should have looked for you, I said. No matter what my mother told me. I should have asked one more question, made one more call, broken one more gate. Sarah stared into her tea. I used to imagine you coming. I am sorry. Then I stopped imagining it because hope was taking food out of my mouth. There are sentences an alpha cannot protect herself from. That was one. I bowed my head. Tell me how to repair what can be repaired. She was silent so long I thought she might ask me to leave. Instead, she reached across the table and placed her fingers over mine. Do not make promises like a CEO, she whispered. Make them like Nia's mama. So I did. I promised to be there on boring days. I promised to learn her teachers' names. I promised not to use money as a shortcut around your trust. I promised to argue with you honestly and never through lawyers unless someone attacks us first. I promise Nia will know she was wanted from the first moment I knew she existed. Sarah cried then, quietly, the way Nia had said she did. This time, I was close enough to wipe her tears, and when I lifted my hand, she let me. A month later, I moved one floor below their apartment. The board called it eccentric. Lena called it strategically adorable. Nia called it downstairs mama and demanded a key shaped like a star. Sarah pretended to object, then added my favorite tea to her grocery list. We were not fixed. Real healing did not move with storybook speed. Some nights Sarah woke from old fear and checked the lock 3 times. Some mornings I smelled roses in a lobby arrangement and had to leave before my wolf mistook memory for danger. But Nia grew steadier. Her nosebleeds stopped. Her drawings changed. The angry eyebrows disappeared first. Then the suited woman learned to smile. On my 33rd birthday, I walked into my office and found a new drawing centered on my desk. Purple clouds. Black tower. 2 women holding hands. A child between them wearing red shoes and a star crown. Under the taller woman, in careful letters, Nia had written Mama. Under Sarah, she had written Mommy. Between them, she had added one more word. Home. I framed that drawing in gold and placed it where every director, investor, rival, and frightened assistant could see it. Let them whisper. For the first time in my life, my desk held something worth more than power. It was not the ending I would have written at 26, when pride seemed like armor. It was messier, quieter, full of calendars, medicine labels, and tiny socks in my office drawer. It was better, because it was real and because they had chosen me. And when Sarah came in carrying tea, kissed my cheek, and said, "Happy birthday, Ariel," I finally believed the story my daughter had been drawing all along.